everyone, and welcome to another edition of Case Me a Christmas Card. This is Michelle Lupton, and as you can see from the title of this video, my guest today is Jennifer McGuire. So I will be casing a card of hers where she used some layering dies. So the layering dies that I'm going to be using today are from Birch Press. They are the Brilliant Ornament layering dies, and I have some blue cardstock from my stash. Some of this is from Hero Art, some of it is from I don't know exactly where, it's just from my stash, and I'm using some white glitter paper that is definitely from Hero Arts. So I'm just cutting out these dies so that the top layer is cut from the white glitter cardstock, the middle layer is cut from the mid blue colour, and the bottom layer is cut from what I affectionately call Michelle blue. Anyway, I'm also going to be using some navy blue in this card. And at this point in time, you can see I'm just poking out all little bits and pieces, and this took the longest amount of time because I don't have one of those little brushy roller tools that I've seen people use to get out the little bits and pieces out of dies like this. So I just had to use my tweezers to poke out each little bit. And there are lots and lots of little bits in these dies. Some of them I didn't actually get out. I had to go back a bit later on and dig some out, but I got most of them out. All right, and now comes the job of adhering them together. And so I'm using liquid glue. This liquid glue that I happen to be using today is from Paper Rose. And I'm not adding glue all over the back, just in sort of particular places. I went all the way around the edge, and then just a few places in the middle. And I'm just getting glue all over my fingers now as I squish these together. And yeah, I'm using a little bit of a baby wipe to wipe up some of the excess. I am notorious for adding too much glue. I think I've mentioned this in other videos. I always add too much glue, and it always squishes out the side, and yeah, it's going to be very annoying for me a little bit later on in this video, I can tell you. Anyway, I've got all my three ornaments all glued together. Now I'm just going to show you the card that inspired me today. So Jennifer also used a layering die, and she used it in an unusual way. So instead of just placing it in the centre of the card, she cut it into pieces. So that's what I decided to do, is not use the ornament in full, but to place it on my card so that it was slightly unusual. She also used some gemstones, but I used glitter instead to give a bit of shine on my card. And I also used silver mirror cardstock on my sentiment. All right, so I'm just going to place my ornaments now. I decided to have a landscape card with my dies, 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom upside down, just to be a little bit different. That was my plan, at least. You can probably see from the beginning of this video that it didn't turn out that way. So I decided I wanted a little bit of layering underneath because they looked, I don't know, a little bit lost on the card just without anything on the card underneath. And I had thought about adding a little fine frame in navy blue, but I wanted a slightly thicker frame in navy blue. I could have got out some rectangle dies and cut a frame, but I just decided to layer it up to give this card a little bit more oomph, because those layered ornaments are quite heavy, because each one is 3 layers of cardstock. So I decided to make my card base a little bit sturdier by adding these extra layers. All right, so I just decided to use the liquid glue because I had it out. And yeah, there's my, basically just created my navy blue frame, my little border there. And I thought that sort of grounded the ornaments a little bit better. All right, so now to assembling these, and I'm just adding again some liquid glue to these ornaments and making sure that I add them, this one nice and central but hanging off the edge a bit. I didn't want the entire ornament on the card, and this next one is where things went wrong. like that. Did you see that? I dropped it upside down, so the glue went straight onto the card base. Ugh. Seriously, all this work so far, because it took me ages to make those ornaments, and then I drop a whole lot of glue onto my card front where I didn't want it. Yes, frustrating. I'm a butterfingers. But I thought I would leave it in to show you how I dealt with this. Sorry, my head's getting in the way there, just trying to make everything nice and straight and lined up. So yeah, I thought I'd just leave in the fact that, yes, I did make this card. I did do a big muck up there. I'm trying to wipe it off. Didn't work. But I'm going to show you what I ended up doing with it. Okay, so I'm pulling out my heavy-duty scissors here. These are Tim Holtz tonic scissors that I usually use my tiny little scissors, but these are really, really good when you have to cut through multiple layers of cardstock. They're a lot more sturdy, got a lot more oomph to them than my little fussy cutting scissors that I usually use. Okay, so I thought, I'll just see what I can do about this glue. So the first thing I tried to do was just put a sentiment on to see what it looked like and just say, okay, can I get away with this? Can I get a sentiment that either covers it up or draws attention away from that spot? And I was thinking, oh, maybe I can add some sequins onto the bit of glue that had gone splodge in the wrong spot. But everything I pulled out, all my different sentiments that I'm pulling out here, none of them seem to really help. So I've pulled out my glue eraser. I thought, let's see if I can actually tidy this up. So my little glue eraser, unfortunately, in this particular instance, didn't do the best job. I ended up with a little bit of the paper tearing. So I pulled out my sand eraser to see if I could tidy that up. And it did actually tidy it up. It's pretty good. And you can't really see it that much on the video, can you? However, in real life, in person, you can absolutely see that something's going wrong there. So, change of plan. I decided that I would put this card on its side from what I originally planned and make it a portrait card. And then I would be able to have a sentiment actually covering up. And again, I went through a whole lot of diets trying to figure out which sentiment. I actually went back to, I think, the first sentiment that I pulled out, which is this Merry Christmas text die from Paper Rose. So I decided to cut it from some mirror cardstock, silver mirror cardstock from Tonic, and I cut the shadow around it from some white vellum. Okay, so I'm just getting all of the pieces out, making sure I don't have any bits still stuck in there. Again, adding some liquid adhesive. Now, I just decided to grab some darker coloured cardstock so I could see exactly where that vellum was, because working on a white work surface, it made it a little bit harder to see. So just lining it up nicely on that vellum shadow. Trying not to get my gluey fingerprints all over the mirror finish of that cardstock, and just making sure I pop the little dot on the eye in Christmas in the correct spot. Okay, and once I've done that, I put it in place and it completely covers up where that little oopsie had happened. So all is well that ends well, and nobody's going to know that there was a big mistake on this card, except for all of you. So please don't tell anyone. Shh. All right. So that pretty much finishes up the card for today's video. I'm just pushing it into place, making sure it's not going to go anywhere. And up close, you can see all the shine from the mirror cardstock and all the shine from the glitter cardstock as well. Thanks very much to Jennifer for being my guest today, and we'll see you in my next video. Bye.